Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the TGIF Business Networking Hangout. I'm your host, Melanie MacDonald, Brand Identity and Outreach Strategy Consultant. Today we have a great show for you. Our special guest is Travis Taylor. He is a digital video media guy. He makes videos and he specializes in great storytelling on video. We're going to talk about a few different things today. Some of those things being Hangouts, Hangouts on Air, and interactive TV, and our Hangouts on Air, the future of interactive TV. And then, of course, we're going to talk about great storytelling in your videos. And Travis is going to share some of his expert advice and wisdom with us on how to tell a great story using visual media. As usual, let's let our guests introduce themselves first today. We have joining us Brian Rowley. Brian, please unmute yourself and give yourself an introduction.
Hi, I'm Brian Rowley, and as it says in my little bottom third label there, because I can't use the draw tool for some reason, that I am a blogger. That's what I want to be, is a professionally paid writer. And so a published author would be a big coup for me, but so far I'm just a blogger and I'm an aspiring author.
Awesome. Is there anywhere that you would like to direct us to read some of your works?
I can. I'll send you to rowleywrites.com, but I'm looking at my background and I think it gives away what I really do for a living. I'm a computer guy. That's why there's computer stuff all over behind my background here.
So you're a little bit of a modern-day Renaissance man, I think is what you're saying.
Oh, no, I'm older than that.
Well, you know, instead of making toy airplanes with wings and inventing those, you are working on computers and you are writing. But that's a modern-day Renaissance man, if you ask me.
All right.
All right, Travis. Hi, Travis. Travis is our special guest today. And he, as I said, has a digital video media company. You can see that in his lower third. Travis, please go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself and your business.
Well, hi there. Thank you for having me on the show. So yes, my name's Travis Taylor, and I have a video production company called TGIF Media. Some people get a little scrambled with that at times. It's digi as in digital, vid as in video, and media. My father always says digi-vidi for some reason. So, but yet I specialize in video and helping companies to tell their story online. And along that process, I also utilize Google Plus and Hangouts on Air to also utilize that platform to get my business out there and also help other companies get their business out there.
Awesome. Excuse me. Awesome. And before we start, I'm going to go a little bit off topic here, and I didn't warn you ahead of time that I was going to do this. But why the resistance to updating your profile picture?
There's no resistance, to be honest. Couple different things. I have a friend that's a photographer that has been promising to shoot some photos and stuff, and I said that okay, I'd wait until he helped me, and well, that hasn't happened, and I'm well overdue for a haircut. My hair's getting a bit long, and I'd like to, if you're gonna put something up there that's gonna be up there for a while, then and change it, then it might as well be good. So I'm just that's my main focus. But I am. I can stand up. I am the real Travis Taylor, either with or without the beard.
Awesome. So tell us, Travis, how did you get interested in video? How did you get into the industry?
Well, it's funny because as a kid I was always kind of obsessed. Like I think Star Wars was my first film, and ever since that I had constantly been obsessed with how they made things and did this. And so as a kid I wanted to do that, but then you start to get more logical as you get into, or you think you might get, you'd like to think you're getting more logical as you get older. And so I went to move to Denver, trying to get residency to go to school there, and was thinking about getting into psychology because I'm very fascinated with how the mind works, and needed a job and happened to find a job there in Denver that was a rental house for production and film equipment, and it just happened to be one of the larger ones, international ones actually. And I spent almost a year there learning about all the equipment, running equipment all around town and to the airport there. And at that point, there was a film that came in town that was actually a for-television remake of The Shining, and I got to go on there as an intern, so to speak, and met some interesting folks on there.
I love that miniseries, by the way. I think it's much better than the movie. It's so
really?
Similar to the book.
I've never heard anybody say that. That's
really? You're kidding.
Yeah,
I love it, absolutely. Because I'm a big Stephen King fan, and I love the story. I read the book. And that miniseries was really true to the book, unlike the movie.
It was. Well, it's much longer, of course, than the movie. So that was my first film experience, and then I had a chance to move to Chicago and jumped into the film industry there, and that kind of took off. I did all sorts of different things there, including industrials and television, commercial, and then some documentaries. And then thought I was ready for the big time and shoved off to LA, and at that point I'd been a grip and been an assistant AD and thought I was ready to be, you know, Mr. Big Shot, and started all over as a production assistant, and started all the way at the bottom again. But I started on a show called X-Files, which I'm sure you're all familiar with.
Yeah.
And that was you know, my first real big production in regards to long-lasting television production, and from there, well, all sorts of different things happened in LA, and I think we're probably going to get into a little of that. I don't know if you might just go. I don't know. I'll let you lead the way here.
Well, I actually have a couple of questions.
Uh-huh.
Before I ask the question, though, I have to say, when you meet an adult who says the first movie they watched as a kid was Star Wars, that's how you know you're old, right, Brian?
Oh, no! Is that where we're at now? See, I think people need to change their perspective a little of old and perfect. Everybody's perfect. You know, if we all taught our kids that even as those that have some sort of disability, that all of that was perfect, I think we'd have a much different world today.
Well, you're saying that like old is a bad thing. I don't think old is a bad thing.
No, I don't think old is a bad thing, but also old does put a negative connotation on where you're at in your life.
Well, you know, that's our society and our culture, but
right.
I was just kind of...
No, I know. It's true. I'll be 40 at the end of the year, which is crazy to me. I don't feel it. I hope I don't look it, although the beard doesn't help. I probably look about 15 years younger without the beard.
Really?
Maybe not.
I don't know. I kind of think beards add youth sometimes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Depends on, I think, how you wear your beard and what color it is, too. But you don't have too much gray. It's just...
No, it's starting to come in there.
Well, you know. I was in my 20s, but what can I say?
Yeah, it happens.
So, going into LA, were you experiencing the... I thought I was going to be a big fish in the pond, and then I learned it was a really big pond, and I was just a little fish. Was it hard to get into the industry? Was there any truth to that saying where they say it's more who you know than what you know?
Well, sure. I mean, in a lot of ways. Do
you have any? I guess the question is, do you have any advice for anybody else who aspires to get into that industry and is starting out?
Well, sure. I mean, these are different days now. I guess I am getting older. No, really. Today, you don't have to be in LA. In fact, today, I think anybody can produce good films and content from wherever they're at. That's what's different. I mean, I work in the digital realm and online because the film industry dried up in San Diego. Films have moved away from LA. A lot of films are being done in like Louisiana and other parts of the country, and you know, Canada and all over the world. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore location necessarily. I mean, location, it definitely matters, but in terms of where people are doing it, it doesn't have to be at the big budget studios anymore. One of the biggest downfalls I had going out to LA was that it kind of turned me off. The Chicago film industry there, and now here in the San Diego film industry, it's a much smaller community, much tighter knit. A family kind of unity forms. Whereas in LA, it wasn't like that. You didn't know who your friends were. The long-lasting friends I made in LA were not in the film industry, at least not originally anyway.
Right.
I met other folks through other communities that happened to be in film and struggling in the same way I was. But and I mean, I was only struggling because it was just so different. You really, I aspired to be an assistant director, and when I got out there, I realized, there were second ADs in their same position for the last 10 years, being, passed over year after year by other ADs, and they were great at their job, but they never moved up, and they were miserable. So I was like, I don't know if I want to do it like that.
Wow. Do you think that will change the sort of perception of Hollywood and the glitz and the glamour with the spreading out of the industry? And you were saying that you no longer really need to be in LA or one of the other main pockets. You can pretty much do it from anywhere now. Is that going to change the public perception over time?
In regards to an independent filmmaker, trying to come up through in a different, not the traditional Hollywood manner, yes. I mean, it's hard to say where the industry is going to go, because, I mean, films and television, the storylines are getting really impressive. I mean, I remember the first time I went and saw a 3D film. There are some films that are worth seeing in 3D. It's really amazing. So you're not gonna, the big budget, the big Hollywood thing isn't necessarily going to go away, and I think it's still going to be a cutthroat industry. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of other mediums and media that people are going to be able to create from and watch, and there'll just be so much diversity. We'll have so many more options in terms of how we view our media, and I think it's just everything's there for the taking. So if you want that Hollywood, kind of glamorized kind of path, then go for it. But then if you want to do something from within your living room, go for it.
Well, that kind of is a nice segue to bring us into talking about Hangouts on Air in particular. Mm-hmm. We have all this technology now that pretty much allows anybody to start creating content that's visual in a visual medium. Mm-hmm. And they have an avenue to broadcast it with YouTube. Now, I hear a lot of, I'm going to say it, whiners in the music industry that say, oh gosh, YouTube and the internet just killed the music industry. There's no super big rock stars. I was just reading an Yngwie Malmsteen interview, and he was talking about that. And I get what he's saying, because before there was only one path to it, and that was getting signed by a big record label, but now there's not. But what he says is that it's ruined the industry because nobody's going to buy mansions and Ferraris and be rock stars anymore. And to me, that sounds a little bit like whining. Mm-hmm. But there are some valid points they were making, that now that everybody can do it, there's so much choice out there, that is it really, are so many more people really going to be able to make a good living doing it, or are they just going to be able to do it and get it out there but still have to have some other job? What do you see in relation? Do you think that that's going to be sort of the same thing with Hangouts on Air and other video mediums that everybody can use and they can start doing things? Is that going to make it harder to make a living in the industry for being a filmmaker, because there will be more competition and there will be so much more content put out there?
Potentially. I mean, music can be used in so many different arenas. I mean, music is used in so many different ways, and so I mean, there's never, there's always a need for good music, in my opinion. How that music gets produced and found and liked, well, I think all of our industries are going to continue to have these disruptions that technology is bringing about, and it doesn't mean that the rock star is dead and gone. It means that it's but the process through which that music or that content gets created and found is opening up in several different ways now, and that all of our industries are being disrupted. I mean, the business industry doesn't know it, but is being massively disrupted. If businesses don't realize, if entertainment doesn't realize and catch on to some of these changes that are happening inside of with technology and computers and apps and all of this, they're going to get left behind. It's just they can whine all they want about it, but those changes are happening because people are investing time and buying up these things and are interested and can have real-time data and can work simultaneously across nations, whether it be on an album or the next, interactive novel, what have you. I mean, we don't even have a clue what's about to come in front of us in the next 10 years, but I do believe that it's up to us right now. In 10 years, it's going to be, our choices are going to be gone and things are going to be kind of the way they are, in my opinion. But we have this unique time right now for people to really step in and, I mean, there's kids in Brazil that are taking these little pieces of music from all over the world and cutting them together, and I mean, because there's no copyright laws there. It's all, they dive in and they take apart all this music and then they put it back together and reassemble it, and some of the stuff they're making is amazing. Are people like in the music industry upset that they're using their stuff? Yeah. But people got to get over that, because I think the more things go open source, the quicker we're going to move forward on knowing how to do things the best way there is for all involved. So anyway, that was my little tangent.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I think one of the things I got out of that is that, in the example that I gave, if they're looking only to be a rock star, that's very limiting. There are so many ways to use your music and to market your music, and so many different things that music can be used for. So if you don't limit yourself to just this one sliver, got to be a rock star, then there's so many other doors opening up. I want to ask our panel now. Hi, thanks for joining us. Does anybody have any questions for Travis thus far, Blair or Brian? Wave your hand if you do, so I can.
Well, I don't, just because I just got here, so I'll wait until he talks a little bit more.
All right, well, why don't you, since you're on the camera, go ahead and introduce yourself, Blair.
Well, thank you. I'm Blair Warner. I'm the founder and senior credit consultant of upgrademycredit.com. And to put it short, we just help people, both people and businesses, with credit and debt issues that are keeping them from getting the credit or buying the house, or that business that wants to expand, or whatever. That's what I specialize in, helping those type people.
Awesome, thank you. We do have a question in the comments section from Debbie Davis. Hi, Debbie. Thanks for watching.
Hi, Debbie.
She says, Travis, how much of your former production experience can be applied to what you're doing on Google Plus HOAs?
Well, all sorts. I mean, just in the simple setups that people have now. I mean, we can get really complicated or stay very simple in that question. But I mean, the whole bit from sound to lighting to the process with pre-production, production, post. I mean, everything that everything that we did in the film industry could potentially be brought to this scale on Hangouts. So I mean, right now it's talking heads, but the way my experience with the film industry and how we've done things before, all of this, I see this platform as having the potential of operating much more like a film studio, where instead of having, like for example, in the film industry, when we shoot a scene, we will shoot that whole scene. When we shoot a storyline, we will shoot in that particular location where all of those scenes take place. So maybe it's scene 6, 10, 14, and 8 all take place in this particular house. Well, instead of bouncing all over to different locations, we stay in that one particular location and shoot all of those scenes. Well, now we have, you know, all these other cameras connected to one platform. I think it'd be, now this is just an idea, but I think it would be interesting if you guys remember like Three's Company, or a lot of the shows where it was shot on a stage and it was very obvious that it was a stage and you had these different apartments and you never really went outside. But instead of having those different apartments, you know, cutting from camera to camera, you know, you have them all live down here. And it operates more like a theater show or something, where you're cutting from one location to the other right down here within the panel. Now, I mean, that would take some intense, you know, coordination and choreography, but those are processes that I think that, you know, they do quite well within the film industry and could be brought in onto this level. So I went a little bit outside the box of your realm of question, Debbie, but I hope that gives you some ideas of how I take my thinking from the film industry and into here.
That's really interesting. What a great idea. I don't think I would have thought of that, but then again, I'm not in the industry. But, you know, that kind of leads me into sort of the storytelling. But before we get into the storytelling, because the reason it leads me into the storytelling is because you have to know what your story is and have it all laid out to know where you're going to cut to and when and have that sequence. But before we get into the storytelling, let's talk a little bit about interactive TV.
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly, for the benefit of our audience, how do you define interactive TV? And how do Hangouts on air kind of fuel excitement for interactive TV?
Well, interactive TV, I would say, is anything where the audience gets to participate. Whereas, like, if you're watching just a regular television show on your TV with commercials and da-da-da-da, you're sitting there not really having to put much effort into the process. Where interactive TV, there's more of an effort from those that are viewing. And so, so that's where the interaction comes in. Now, that can be as simple as, and I don't even know if this has been released. I know there's probably platforms online that are like this, but you're watching a program and there's something in the program you like. You can, some people call it, you know, or second screen, where you'll have one screen. In fact, you guys were speaking on this a little bit in the green room, but where you have, and people have to do it with Hangouts at times, where you have one screen to view what's going on, then you have another screen to actually interact. So that interaction could be asking questions through, you know, on the comments when we're in a different app on Hangouts, like the questions app. So you have to use two different screens to interact. Well, the same thing with some of these websites now. You can watch a program and, like, you can have information about the program, like the actors and all this different stuff, on a second screen that you have real-time instant access to, that's available. They set it all up for you to interact that way. So there's that interaction, but then there's also the face-to-face, which Sarah Hill calls human media. I don't know if you all are familiar with Sarah Hill, but she works with a group called the Veterans United, and she's been a huge person within this platform, Hangouts on Air. She was and has been in the broadcast industry for some time, and so she's used her experience with broadcast and has really opened up and it really pushed the boundaries of Hangouts. And so this human media, where we start to really, be able to see each other's faces and have this communication, there's these barriers that end up having to be broken, that you don't get to hide behind anymore, and suddenly you become, there's a lot. The interaction allows for these barriers to be broken down and people to really get a sense of one another. And I think relationships can develop much quicker through this real-time human media, and the influence and the ability to teach one another well beyond what we were able to do in the past is immense. And so I think regular kind of the television, the media that doesn't take any sort of participation or effort of the viewer is not going to go away, because there's a part of, I think everybody that likes that sitting down and being able to just kind of unplug and let somebody else take you away, I mean, that's what books will always be around in some form or fashion, but then the interactive media there'll always be that choice now. I think as we move further in the next few years, you will always have a choice, especially with smart TVs and platforms like this, to interact and get more out of it if you so choose. So.
And I think you make a lot of good points there. I think what the program is about has a little bit to do with it, because I've watched some programs where they had the commentary on the bottom and showing people's tweets and stuff, and I found it very distracting when I really wanted to watch the story because it was a good story. Mm-hmm. But there are other ones that I've seen that I thought they did it really well. And those are, for example, there's a show called Haven. It's a sci-fi show, and they have a couple of characters that actually do tweets from the character in the show during the show.
As the character?
Yeah, as the character that relates to the show, and that makes it kind of fun and interactive, but it's adding to the story and adding to the show, not distracting from it.
Right.
So that's kind of fun. But let's talk about it a little bit on a practical sense, because we have Pamir Kisiman, excuse me if I'm not saying your name right, Pamir, but he says he hails from South Florida, and he wants to find out more about how HOAs can be utilized to drive business to a local brick-and-mortar business. So I think in the terms of interactive HOAs, for example, you could be doing an HOA from your brick-and-mortar business, showing off a new product and saying, hey, if you come into the store by 4 p.m. today, you get a discount on this product, as an example. Do anybody in our panel, Travis, you, but anybody else, have any suggestions, ideas, answers to that question?
I actually do. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. I don't have a brick and mortar business. I did. I had an office for 5 years, and probably 90% of my clients always wanted to meet somewhere else, and so only like 10% actually came to my office. So I gave up the office space, started working out of the house. But I've been using HOAs ever since they've come out, and the number one way that it's not necessarily interactive with my clients. I still can't get my clients to get past the technological challenge that most of them have, because not everybody's tech savvy, to set up their video and do all that, just to have a 15-minute consultation with me. But referral partners, educational, informative videos that I do, for clients to put up on YouTube, interviews with other people in the industry. Those are some good ways to do the Hangout on air and then make those available. But I think what you said, if someone has a brick and mortar like a retail store, there's no reason why they can't do it in the retail store and see some live transactions or live conversations with the background of the actual retail store and put it up on YouTube. Any thoughts, Travis?
Yeah, no. In fact, I think that's right on it. Basically, the new strategy for a lot of marketing is not so much of pushing the product as it is educating people about the product.
Right.
And so there's a couple different aspects that brick and mortar can use Hangouts for, and both on the internal end of the business, like you were mentioning, talking to clients, or not clients, but even people that you work with within your own company. There's a lot of different processes that can happen on, the ins and outs of your everyday business within a Hangout. And even just doing private Hangouts on air, where that stuff gets recorded and you can refer back to it so that that information is available to everybody. Like if someone can't make the meeting, then they're not going to miss anything. Or if they have to be at home. I mean, there's a lot of money spent for just traveling to meetings, out of town, this and that. So if companies utilized Hangouts just on the meeting premise, you spend a lot. You save yourself a lot of time and money getting around town or traveling back and forth from town to town. And then on the other side of that, depending on what type, if it's a business where people come in and sell things, I know that there's a new, and I apologize, I'm not sure the name of the company, but there's some company in the UK that is a clothing designer, and they allow for their customers that can't make it to actually come into the Hangout, and they'll have somebody go through different clothing options for them, and they can buy and sell right there and get it for them. And so there's a lot of ways. You add the Google Glass element into it, and now you can have a plumber run out to the house to, and maybe he's newer, but you don't have to have the guy that's been doing it for 30 years trail along with him to show him how. He can just communicate right through Google Glass on what needs to happen next. And so I think that the brick and mortar industry, different people that have their own small businesses, all of this is free to use from Google. It's well worth taking some time. I do a lot of work with Plus Your Business, which if any of you are not familiar with Plus Your Business, please check them out, because there is more free information than there is free tools from Google just there on that website, and how to utilize the various aspects of the Google Plus platform for your business, whether it be small or international. And then, of course, another resource that's really fantastic, both for the educational and business aspect, but then also the talk show entertainment aspect of it, is of course Ronnie Benser with and as the Hangout Helper. He's known as the Hangout Helper, and has a Hangout Mastery class that I think is completely just one of the best programs out there, including a lot of the stuff that Martin does. But the Hangout platform has so much potential for businesses. It blows me away that companies are still paying thousands of dollars a year to have it done, by a tech company.
Right.
So yeah, I think the potential is there, and it's really the only limit you have when it comes to how using any of this for your business is your creativity. If again, I mentioned earlier on posting for the show, is if you can dream it, you can create it. One thing I've learned on movies is that you can make anything look like anything, and so you can do the same kinds of things. Set up your shop. All you need is just a little bit of a background, and you can set this up to look as dynamite as possible for folks that you might want to attract to see the larger picture. So anyway.
I love your background. It makes me think you're floating in space.
I was, there's, again, just like with the news broadcast station, I mean, I don't know if people know this, but on Hangouts, you can even throw up a green screen, if you guys know what a green screen is, and you can chroma key the background out so that you can have any background behind you. We're almost there. Just in my own living room, I'm almost to the same potential as a broadcast station.
Now, is that a built-in tool in Hangouts, or is that an extra app?
That's an extra process. Chroma key or the green screen is a process that's usually used through post-production, but also can be used through live production. But that entails a video switcher of some sort, whether it be hardware or software.
So you're kind of talking about more having the recording, then downloading it, and then doing a little editing and adding stuff in, or is
Either
it
way.
live?
Either way. In fact, I mean, that's the other thing with businesses doing, Hangouts and just having meetings and what have you. So much of what comes about in a meeting can be recorded, and then you can repurpose all of that for, I mean, even just the audio. If you wanted to strip the audio and add some sort of visual images that fit with the 2 minutes of conversation that just really hit the mark, And when you have those moments talking with your group and associates, sometimes we miss the best parts. And with Hangouts, you don't have to anymore.
Bill, I'm going to go to you because you put a little note in chat there that you have some input. Please introduce yourself and then tell us your story.
Well, I'm Bill Sanderson. Can you hear me, Mel?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I have several hats I wear now. I do web development, as well as we've been online company for many, many years, and my partner's starting a new business, which is brick and mortar, selling bread and bagels. So I'm actually taking that technology that I've used for all these years and going to overlay that on our business and how we can utilize that to grow our business as we're planning the kitchen out that we're going to install in this building. Once we get a lease signed, I'm actually going to put in electrical for lighting, for camera, so we can do training in either online or in place and then re-record. And it's not that expensive. I mean, I wish I could take you into my guest room next door. Has a green screen in it on the wall. I painted the wall. There's actually a chroma key color you can buy at the paint store that's the correct number, and you can paint your whole room green if you'd like, and I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you can even chroma key with blue too. So that's one of my walls is painted completely blue, so I can do the same thing. Yeah.
So, but I'm looking at it is how can I leverage the video for training purposes? Because right now, video is wonderful, either live or re-recorded, because I'm teaching myself how to program Android right now with a book and everything online, and it's like a classroom in a box. I just don't understand why businesses aren't doing this. I'm going to be recording all of my employee training on videos, because we have like 10 pieces of equipment that's going to be in this kitchen, and some of them can be dangerous if you don't manage them right, and all that training is going to be, I'm not going to have a manual, it's all going to be online, and that's where the employee manual is going to live. So, it's that way I can update it as needed, and employees can go on their off time and watch a video or refresh themselves, because registers nowadays are iPads, they can even watch the video at the register if they have a question. So that's how I'm looking to leverage, video and technology in my soon-to-be, hopefully, brick-and-mortar business.
That's awesome, Bill. That's exactly what businesses should be doing. I mean, I can't imagine, even like a restaurant goes through so much time with just training alone. And I've watched some videos that they've had for, back in the day when I was in high school for like working at Wendy's and stuff. But those are all corporately done, and they're very dry. And whereas, you don't now have to be a corporate, big money-making business to make a video for your employees to learn how to run your business,
Right. And especially with your kitchen, Bill, I mean, look at how often we go to the food channel and we watch them make something, and then by the end we're like, oh my gosh, I just want some of that. So seeing your stuff coming hot out of the oven, I mean, that would just make my mouth drool and make me want to run and go buy some right away. So there's just so many uses. You guys are awesome.
I just wish I could get the delivery of the product through the video to the customer.
Right,
Instead of driving there, but
that'll probably come next. It'll probably be some sort of 3D printer combined with video somehow.
Well, they have 3D printers for food now, so that is there. So
yeah.
Well, and they have the Showcase app where you are doing your video, and in the background or on the side, it opens another window where you can put the links. Here's where you can order the product. Here's where you can buy the product. And that's the next best thing of sending it to them through the screen, but they can then, as their mouth is drooling, go and click on that link and order something to be sent to them. Okay, let's see, I'm looking at the time here, making sure we're on time. Let's get into a little bit now storytelling, because I want to make sure we talk about that. You've all had so much great input and ideas on the practical uses of HOAs and interactive TV in business, but Travis, tell us about storytelling and how important it is. And I know it's important because I love a good story. That's what attracts me to any show that I watch or book that I read or anything else. And how is good storytelling also translated in terms of business use of video?
Well, I mean, I think from, since even written language, story has been the way that we've passed information and knowledge down over a very long period of time. And so I think we're programmed somewhat to be drawn to story, and it's always been one of the better ways that I've learned. My grandfather used to, always tell me stories, or even more so my grandmother probably would tell me stories of all sorts of things that always had some sort of moral or some sort of deeper understanding, And so I think telling stories for products, I mean, I was mentioning earlier that the new way to market things is not through, push the push of consumption. There was somebody said several years ago that they had the feeling that we're moving from a society that is more we're moving from a society that is consumption-based into a society that is more service-based. And if you take storytelling using that sort of concept and you start with why instead of the what, instead of shoving the product, in their face and saying that, this is what you need, and, tell them some sort of lie that their friends are going to be awesome and your nights are going to be wonderful because you drink this wine. I think there's better ways to tell stories, to tell your products, and starting with the why and teaching people a little bit about either the process and a little bit of the background of why this product or this service is good for you or does make sense, helping people to really understand on a personal level why something connects or could connect to them and make things better for them. And if we are indeed moving into more of a service-oriented society, then educating people about, products. And you see, I have this whole thing with the advertising industry that really kind of frustrates me. It's a very wasteful industry. And I think if things started from the core of where everything gets kind of pushed to the masses, which is inside advertising and films, I think if we started telling stories that really taught people about themselves and reflected more about the human process and the human experience rather than based on products and consumption, we'd have a lot more interesting advertising going on out there. And I, for one, think that there's great storytelling going on both in the theaters and on television. There's some really good programs out there, but I think that where we really lack in our creativity with storytelling is how we deliver information about products that we use. So again, starting with why and explaining people a little bit about the background, the passion that runs that product or service is a great place to start. And you will attract, in my opinion, folks that are interested in understanding those things. Does that work?
Yeah, and I think that you're talking a little bit about lifestyle marketing too. And that's where when you see those commercials, for example, I hate to mention these, but for the pharmaceutical drug pushers, they're not showing people who are sick and needing the medicine. They're showing people who are running around in fields and sniffing flowers, because that's the lifestyle. If you use my product, you can enjoy this. And it's telling the story of here's what your life can be like if you use my product, rather than here's what my product is. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And I mean, we are, again, I think we're programmed for storytelling. We thrive on good stories, and those of us that like to tell stories thrive on telling them. And so the storytelling is not going to ever go away. It's the content within the story and the intention behind the story that's really important. And I think people will connect with your story if you speak from a space of being more true to your audience. I mean, I'm here. I'm really excited about where things are heading with video and interactiveness, because I think there's an immense potential to teach so many people out there that that before didn't have access. And so storytelling is such a great way to allow people to drop their defenses, and hear. It allows people to hear ideas that otherwise maybe they wouldn't have considered before. And so that's where I'd really like to see the advertising industry move more towards an intentional process of storytelling, so that it actually benefits people. And us as the viewers, we need to, I think, with the ability to give feedback like we're able to do in with Twitter and all of these different apps and whatnot for giving feedback, that Google and Facebook and all these companies are able to grab up all this data. Well, we as the consumers have a lot of control now if they indeed are looking at and observing that data. And I think it's up to us as the audience to demand better storytelling with deeper meaning and with better intention behind what's being told.
So what practical advice do you have for small business owners or business owners who want to make a promotional video for their goods or services? Do you have, let's say, 3 bullet points of step 1, step 2, step 3 in writing that story? What do they look at? Where can they get inspiration for their story idea? How do you counsel the people that come to you to help them make a video?
Well, really I think the best route is teaching. You can, when you're passionate and how, like, for example, was it Bill, you have you work with bread, bagels? Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so what I would suggest in his industry is teach people a little bit about the product, how it's made, the ingredients that are used, and crowdsource, with the distributors that you work with. Bring them in and highlight their products that you use in what you're making, and tell the story of how all this came together. You can tell the story of what made you get into the business, why you decided on this distributor over this, because it's really the story behind the intentions of why you use this, that, or another that people become interested in, and find that, well, that's a better product because I learned that they use this ingredient which is better for you for this. I mean, I'm being very broad right now, but in my opinion, if you go through and explain, answer these questions of the why, the how, and the what, and the what is like the big ending. It's what you reveal at the end. So you keep a little bit of mystery in your videos in terms of exactly what you're showing them as the end product, and you take them through the process of either how or why that service is best for them.
Yeah,
so,
I can add a bit to that, because let me give you a simple story. We sell bagels at the farmers market here, and we have a 3-minute story that we tell about the bagels from start to finish. Basically, we tell the people that, we make the bagel dough, we form them, they sit in the refrigerator overnight, they come out the next day, we boil water with malt, we boil them, then we bake them on bagel boards, flip them halfway through the bake so they're round on the bottom, and we're demonstrating this in front of them. And that little story draws so many people in to buy because it adds that extra value. Then if I just stood there and say, buy my bagels, buy my bagels, buy my bagels, people want to be, it's entertainment, it's information, and the more you can give your customer that, they're going to pick you over the guy that just has a billboard in the sign going, bagels here, because you're making a personal connection with that person as well, and that's the key to any business, because then you'll win them. Yep. And as far as production, we already have the name for our online show. It's going to be called Loafing with Andy.
What was it again?
Loafing with Andy.
Nice.
Because he makes bread and bagels, so.
Awesome.
So you see, I mean, there's so many industries that one can get creative, and I mean, even if it's installing furnaces or what have you, your story is going to attract those that work in those industries, or again, like if you're working in an industrial or like construction, there's going to be other people that are attracted to that information because they're working in the same industry. So you do two things by creating story with video. You raise the ability for people to find you and see you, first off. And then secondly, you also become more and more of an authority in your area. And other authorities around you that start watching and learning from that content, that helps to bring up that value of your authority. And so by creating video, you're doing two things. You're bringing about awareness to those that may not know you're there. You're keeping a connection with the customers you presently have, and you're developing authority through those that are in the same industry as you. So you can really accomplish a lot just by doing some short videos about what you specifically are providing.
Awesome. Wow, what an awesome show today. Thank you, Travis, so much for joining us, and for our peanut gallery, Bill and Blair and Brian. Thank you for coming in. We are at 9:52, so I'm going to start asking all of you to get your closing words and promos ready. If you have any last questions for Travis, if you have any upcoming events you'd like to promote or tell us about, we're going to go and do that. First, we're just kind of go in order. Bill, you're the first on my screen, so you're going first. Please unmute yourself. And what are your closing questions, promos, words?
Well, Travis, thank you and everyone for being here. I have a question. I did some promo videos a while back in my guest room on my green screen, and I mean, I have an iPad with a teleprompter, and it's really easy to do, but is there any way I could personally be how do you learn to be a little bit more on camera? That's the piece I don't have. I'm passionate, but I don't have that, on camera personality to make the information. I know that's a really hard thing to talk about. I know you do.
No, it's a great question.
Where do you learn that? Because I mean, you can't really read that in a book. I mean, is it just?
Can I chime in? Can I chime in on this one? I'm a big Toastmasters fan. I've been going to Toastmasters for a couple years, and Toastmasters has done wonders to help me to be a better host on camera and off camera, doing live presentations for business groups. At my Toastmasters Club meeting, as an example, when our speakers get up, not the main speakers, but anybody else throughout the meeting, if you say or any kind of word like that, you get a bell ringing. You get a bell ring. And there is nothing that will cure you of that habit than getting dinged out when you do it. So a group like Toastmasters or public speaking, another public speaking group, is very helpful. One of the books that they have you go through is even about communicating on camera. So it's been really helpful. Travis?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, I've always been on the other side of the camera. I'm usually behind the scenes, and so being a part of Hangouts, I produce the PYB show, and I've also produced a travel channel where we, with Hangouts, and an NBA show. So all these different shows have forced me to have to be on camera. And I'll tell you, man, I know that there's, especially, well, still now, like my eye will wander. Like I sometimes I'll have a couple different cameras and I won't know which camera I'm on. Oh yeah, and my eyes start going all over the place. And so I think it just takes practice. The more you're in Hangouts, the more you're interacting, the more you realize, I even put up little notes, sometimes to remind me that, look up at the camera, because sometimes, it's good, like for example, in Hangouts, if I'm talking to you guys, I might look down at the film strip and, being conversating towards you guys. But then if I have a message to my audience, then I glance up and look right at the camera. And it's little, but it's enough so that the camera, so the audience suddenly has this feeling, this connection of your eyes directly at you. And there's something that, I don't know, psychologically that happens for people within that process. So it's good to look directly at the camera when you're speaking to your audience, but it's really hard to remember, especially if you're trying to bring up bullet points that you may have from the side or something. So I just think it just takes practice. I've gotten a lot more comfortable about it, but I'm still, every show I do each week, and even with today, I'm nervous before it. It's just part of it.
Well, I will add to that too. Practice. What Travis said, practice. And I invite everybody to come into the TGIF Business Networking Hangout. You see, I give everybody a chance to get on camera, get on screen, and I encourage you to do that and to give yourself a promo and give your business a promo, and then go watch it back. That's the one thing a lot of us do, or excuse me, don't do, is that we will come on a Hangout, but then we won't actually go watch it back and take a good critiquing look at ourselves and see what we're doing. I encourage you to do that. And Travis, I challenge you to watch this back and count how many times you say and
Did I say a lot of ums and ahs?
Well, you also rock a lot, so
yeah.
count how many times you rocked.
I do that too. That's something I'm working on too, actually. That's a good catch, Blair.
Well, hey, Melanie, if you don't mind, I want to compliment you in front of everybody, because I've been, coming on your show for a couple years off and on, and you are one of the last shows that still allows a peanut gallery. Have you noticed that? All the guys that have gotten big, they'll have their guest on, but there's no more peanut gallery, and you just got to watch it on YouTube or something. I think one of the beauties of Hangouts and what is this right here. And EFOT did that for a couple years, but then she stopped doing that, and the unplugged kind of feel. So I just want to tell you, I'm glad you're still doing it.
Oh, thank you, Blair. Thank you for noticing. I do that on purpose, and I agree, because I saw so many of the Hangouts just go the interview route, and the other people didn't get a chance to talk. But I want people to be able to have a place to practice developing their presence and being on screen. And another person who does that is Melanie Hall. She has a Hangout on Mondays called Lights, Cameras, HOA, which is very newbie friendly, and she invites people to come in and practice being on camera as well. So thank you so much, Blair.
Could you throw that link into the comments? I'd like to check that out.
I sure will.
Great.
I sure will. Blair, did you have anything that you want to promote before we sign off?
Well, nothing about my own business. I mean, you can find me at upgrademycredit.com and check me out and all that kind of stuff. And then if you have questions, just feel free to ask. I have been doing Hangouts and HOAs and Google Plus and all this, for over 3 years. And while I don't have an official show with a title, I've got a lot of experience doing, this kind of stuff, the Hangout Gallery, and I've done some interviews. And so I just want to tell people to jump. That's exactly what you said. Just jump in, try out coming out on your show and being in the Peanut Gallery. Get a good camera and just jump in, and you'll find that it'll just you'll slowly get used to it and feel for it. So that's all.
Awesome. Thank you. Brian, you're up. Unmute yourself, please. And any final questions, last words, promos?
No, I don't have any questions, but I wanted to talk about the idea of looking at the camera, first of all, because it takes a lot of practice to do this. And one way you can practice, you can go on YouTube and you can record yourself on YouTube speaking, so it'll create a video for you that you can then instantly watch for your own feedback and review. And I won't even go on about or you, or I mean, or it's like. There was a show on TV not so long ago. It was called It's Like You Know, and it was on for about 3 episodes and disappeared. So there's some feedback for you. And
Great.
Also, I have one question for Travis. Do you write the copy on your website?
I'm sorry, say again?
The copy that's on your website, all of the text that's on your pages. Do you write that, or is someone doing that for you?
I wrote that myself.
Okay, I will send you email, so we'll have a private conversation about things that I find, because I edit without wanting to. I just do. So I will find those things.
Yeah, no, in fact, it's someone else. Yeah, no, I'm not the best writer, but I could definitely use some coaching on that. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to help you.
Thanks. Travis, how about you? What are your last words? Or do you have any promos you want to give a shout out?
I mean, sure, I'll throw a couple things out there. I'm got so much going on right now. I mean, I have my DigiVid Media, which focuses on videos for online presence, and I also do a lot of work with Plus Your Business with Google Plus and Hangouts. I produce their show, so every Thursday at 11 Pacific time is the Plus Your Business show, and we talk all about this platform in relation to business. And that is one that we do still have quite a few people in. In fact, our yesterday's show went off really well. We had David Amerland on and Pepper Oldsley. That's off the top of my head, so I apologize if I meshed that up. But that was a fantastic show, and we have a lot of interaction with the group, that are our production team, and we all have a little piece that we put out that hopefully is helpful for businesses in various areas, including Facebook and LinkedIn tips. So that's always a fun show to check out with tons of information. And then also I have started a new business or service called Streamadoo, or Stream I Do. And it is basically using Hangouts and multiple cameras and streaming your wedding live to the internet, so that those that can't make it can watch from afar. And that's a really cool process that we've been developing. And so if anybody's interested in that, please get a hold of me. That's Streamadoo, streamido.com.
That's awesome.
And I think that's about it. I really, really enjoyed being on the show. You are my first. This is my first official show being on as a guest and not a part of the production. So I'm very excited about that. This was a cool show to be on for that being the first time. And I will take a look at my video and look at how my interview is, and I will definitely be in touch with you there, Brian, see what you can help in regards to my website, because it's always good. I can tell and talk forever, but my writing is a little bit, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Travis. You are a great guest, and I feel pretty honored that mine was the first show that you were the actual guest. So thank you so much for taking the time and come in today, and thank you guys all down there in the peanut gallery. It was awesome having you all join us today. I would like to take a minute to let anybody else who is in the Coachella Valley area know that there are a couple of local Toastmasters groups that meet. My club is on Thursday mornings. It's an early bird club. We meet from 7:15 to 8:30 a.m. at the Portola Community Center in Palm Desert. There is also a Palm Springs Toastmaster that is Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. at the Desert Sun Building's Community Room on Gene Autry Trail. I am your host, Melanie MacDonald, and I am also a Hangout host for hire. So if you are a small business person or solopreneur interested in getting into this Hangouts thing, again, I welcome you to come into TGIF any first and third Friday at 9 a.m. in the morning. But if you have a great presentation you'd like to make, or a meeting you want to hold and you don't want to deal with being the host and all the behind-the-scenes things and teaching people how to get into the Hangout, you can just contact me. That is one of the services that I offer. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you again. The next TGIF episode is Friday. What is it? What's today? October 17th. So it's going to be Friday, the first Friday in November. And if I was a really prepared Hangout host, I would have that date right in front of me. But I don't. So I will post it in the event listings, and you'll see it there. Okay, that's Friday, November 7th. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.